G'day everyone, welcome back to the Short Ball Podcast. This time we're going to be going through the Schoolboy National Final that is on Wednesday, 12:15pm at Cbus Super Stadium. Will be streamed on Community TV as always, and it will also be on 9Gem for free-to-air TV as well. That's going to be an absolutely cracking matchup. Patrician Brothers Blacktown and Palm Beach Currumbin, two schools with plenty of rugby league history. Some absolute superstars have gone to both of these schools. Just recently, like the likes of Stephen Crichton, Spencer Lenu, Jerome Luai, Dallin Watini-Zalesniak as well. A couple of those boys went to Paddy's. And then from Palm Beach Currumbin, Cody Walker, Jerome Hughes are a couple of the names that recently attended there. Keanu Kinney was a Palm Beach Currumbin boy as well. So some absolute stars to come out of those sides, and there's more in these sides for Wednesday's matchup. And we're going to go through them a little bit and sort of cover the game in general, and then do a couple of key matchups and a couple of players to watch as well. To start off with, like, Patrician Brothers Blacktown, they just stormed through the Peter Mulholland Cup. They didn't really get tested until finals. They had a really cracking game against Central Coast in the prelim final, and then in the state final against Endeavour. They started out of the block slow, and they came back and stormed over the top to claim that 34-16 win. They've been led around by some Australian schoolboys. They got 4 in that side. Jacob Halangar, who's the star out of the lot of them. Lachlan Kanakis, another one. That's an Australian schoolboy. Tyson Sangalang, the lock. He was super in that state final, I thought, defensively in particular. And Jared Hayward, who came up with the clutch moment in that Central Coast game as well. So some absolute stars in that side, and those Australian schoolboy guys will be looking to lead this team to a national title. On the other side of the fence, Palm Beach Currumbin. Now, they've been really dominant as well. They looked very good against Keebra. They put Marsden away. Then they had their state final against Kerwin. That was a really tight matchup. I reviewed it a little bit in my first podcast that I'd done. That was sort of going through the preview for the New South Wales Cup and that. So go to the end of that podcast if you want to hear a sort of bit more of a thorough breakdown on that game. But they've looked really solid. They've been led around mostly by Zane Harrison, who's just looked super impressive each time I've watched him. But in the state final, they didn't have Zane Harrison on board, and he's going to be a key return in this one. And another key return across the other side is Jet Sidir, and that's our first key matchup, is those two guys who are returning from injury. Zane Harrison obviously was concussed in the Allan Langer Trophy final, so he missed out on the state final. And then you had Jet Sidir, who's been out for the last 2 months with a knee injury as well. So he makes his return. Jet Sidir, he's currently with the Panthers. He was super in Howard Matthews this year. Come back, he had a really good first game for CCC. Came up with a crucial play with a little sort of kick and chase to set up a try there. That sort of made the difference against Queensland in that game, and that was actually against Zane Harrison as well. So they're matching up against each other once again. He's a really good organising half, got a good kicking game, plays what he sees in front of him. So he's going to be one to watch off the back of what's been a pretty long layoff, obviously with that knee injury. At first I was actually told it was an ACL, but I'm pretty sure it was an MCL injury, and considering the time frame in which he's back, that would make the most sense. But on the other side, Zane Harrison, he was concussed in that game, the Allan Langer Trophy final. He's a star. There's no other way to put it. He's going to be a really important player for the Titans' future. And if you are a Titans fan, this is one that you want to watch. A lot of the Palm Beach Currumbin boys are Titans boys. And Zane Harrison is definitely the one from this side. Come up with some crucial plays against Marsden to get over the top of them in that Allan Langer Trophy final, and then up against Keebra as well. I thought he was the best on ground in that game. He played New South Wales State of Origin under 19s. He was the 18th man in that, rather. So he was in that squad, but just didn't get a run. He was behind Mitchell Woods, obviously. and was super for Queensland. I thought he was stiff to miss out on a schoolboy jersey. It was a very hotly contested halves jersey, but he sort of missed out on a place in the squad. And he actually, I done a post sort of asking him what his goals were for the season. One of them was that Australian schoolboy jersey, and the other one was to win this national final. So he'll be geared up, ready to go for this one. So that is a very key matchup to see how those halves go. The halves matchup is always super important, but in particular here, these two guys coming back from injury, and they are so important to their side. Next key matchup, two absolute gun back rowers that are running off these halves. Jacob Halangahu for Patrician Brothers Blacktown. He signed with the Dragons at the moment, was part of their SG ball winning setup. Only recently turned 18 not long ago. And Jack Finnegan, he was with the Tweed Seagulls, as was Zane Harrison. So those two have been running alongside each other for a while. Jack Finnegan, I'll start off with him. He's a very powerful and dynamic back rower, scores plenty of tries. He was actually probably the first one from that Tweed side to catch my eye in the Mal Meninga Cup final series. Him and Zane Harrison, and then Mason Barber out the back. Those three sort of really stood out to me. His defensive work rate as well was super. He was their best on ground, I thought, in that state final against Kerwin, and I think he'll be looking to replicate that performance here. Jacob Halangahu, he is a 2 times Australian schoolboy. He was the SG Ball player of the match in the grand final. He's just got such a big resume at this point. He was a player of the tournament, or joint player of the tournament for CCC in that Australian Secondary Schools tournament, alongside sort of Cody Hopwood, who actually won the player of the tournament across the board. He was one of their best throughout this whole final series. I gave him player of the match in the prelim final. He's just ticking off box after box after box, and he will be looking to tick off another one here with a national title. So outside of those two key matchups that I've sort of highlighted between the halves and the back rowers, there's a really special storyline that's coming out of Palm Beach Currumbin. The two Harrison boys, Isaac and Zane Harrison, the brothers. Isaac captained the side to that state final. He was the captain in Zane's absence, so got to lift the shield there for that state final. And Zane Harrison will be taking back over the skipper duties. He's been the skipper all year. He gets the chance now to lift a national final alongside his brother, lift the national title rather alongside his brother. So that's going to be a really good storyline to follow in that game. The two Harrison boys lifting titles for both state and national for their school. They've played a lot of footy together, obviously, and they've been together Tweed at Palm Beach as well this year, and played really good footy. Isaac the lock, good player, one to watch there. And obviously Zane, as I spoke about before, in that key matchup. Couple players to watch outside of those key guys, and when I do the content piece, those key guys will be a part of that. But outside of that, I think somebody who's going to be super important for Patrician Brothers Blacktown will be Lachlan Kanakis out of that 9. His service, really good. He's sort of there's sort of no mucking around in his game. He's not exactly a flashy dummy half that's going to have 4 try assists in a game or whatever, but defensively super solid, and that was on show in the state final against Endeavour. And his service super. He doesn't really make too many errors either, so he's going to be a key one to watch out for that Patrician Brothers Blacktown side. And then just another one across from Palm Beach Currumbin to watch out for. Off the bench, he was in the state final. I haven't got team list on me, so I don't know how they're going to line up here, but Jai Billish, he was one of their best players in that state final. Came off the bench, just set a different level of intensity, was really crafty around the ruck, and defensively I thought he was super as well. But to wrap it off, I'll just give a couple of predictions. I was a Patrician Brothers Blacktown boy, so I will be backing my boys in Patrician Brothers Blacktown to win. I've got them 26-24. I think it'll be a high-scoring affair. Both teams have plenty of points in them. The halves are very crafty, can create space out of anything. And then you've got like the guys like Finnegan, Halengar who create points. Like those guys as well. Another, I didn't even mention him, but Finay Fale. I'm a big fan of his. He was super in that state final. I personally thought he was the best on ground. Josiah Arkey won that, and he was very good as well also. But Finay Fale is super green as a footballer. He's still only young. He's learning his craft, but he's a centre with plenty of upside, plenty of potential. He broke that game open last, or 2 weeks ago, rather, I should say. So he's going to be one to look out for as well for that Patrician Brothers Blacktown side. But other than that, that sort of wraps it all up. This is going to be a super game. Make sure you're watching it because this is where a lot of big names come out of. Lockie Galvin was featured in this game this time last year playing for Westfield Sports. He was the Peter Sterling medalist. He was best player all season through the Peter Mulholland Cup. He was the best on ground in the national final. So these players in these teams are not that far off, and they are the stars of the future. There's a long list of guys who have played in this, who have played schoolboy footy, who are just absolute guns. So make sure you're watching this game, 9Gem Community TV, this Wednesday at 12:15 p.m.